Mike Tyson used a hypnotist for 15 years. Tiger Woods started when he was 13 years old, and Tony Robbins built a billion-dollar empire on the principles of hypnosis. That is the most feared heavyweight champion of all time. That is the greatest golfer of all time. And that is the guy who's coached more world leaders and billionaires than anyone else walking this planet. So why does no one talk about this? Well, the story about discipline and hard work seems to be just a much more interesting story to tell. But what's really running all of that underneath often gets left out. Because you've heard about their discipline, you heard about their work ethic, you heard about their hard work, but you probably never heard about what actually allows that to be, that discipline to be. And that always gets left out. So what I want to show you today is why hypnosis is what actually allows them to perform at that level, and how you can use that and apply that for yourself. And I found all of this after compiling over 1,800 sources, and it was over 150 famous people in business, in performance sports, that said publicly or even secretly that they had been using hypnosis at the start of their careers. And if you look at Mike Tyson, he used it to become a fearless animal. And he talked about this on Joe Rogan's podcast, that he was closing his eyes and he was focusing on darkness, on blackness, and they were telling him that he was an intelligent animal. And that's what he became, the Black Panther, or whatever they called him. And then we have Tiger Woods. He said in an interview that he had been using it for so long that it became part of who he is. And he used it for his junior first titles, the championships, all the way through. Tony Robbins was coached by the NLP co-founder. Guess what? He's a hypnotist. So Tony Robbins started his career with hypnosis. And if you look at him now, he's standing on stages, thousands and thousands of people. All that he's really practicing is applied hypnosis. That is, he's using the principles of hypnosis with the people in front of him. That means there's 3 different businesses or areas, 3 different problems, and they still use the same tool. So that raises the question, why hypnosis specifically? And let me tell you, these people, remember this, that these people were the most coached people, the most disciplined, the most hardworking people. They weren't trying to find an easier way out. They wanted to perform at their absolute highest level. They had a coach for everything in their entire life. They wanted to become the best. And that's why they used a hypnotist. Because there's always a gap between your potential and your actual output. And if we look at your potential, that is who you could be and what you could do if there was no resistance, if everything just pointed and aligned in one direction. But the problem is here that the only thing that is not aligning that is what we call the subconscious mind. And you can think about the subconscious mind as the captain of the ship. And even if you, which is your conscious mind, so there's the subconscious, the conscious mind is the guy steering the ship. And he's like, yeah, I want to go there. That's where I'm steering the ship, and I'm trying to steer the ship. But then all of a sudden the captain says, no, stop. And that guy has he can't say anything. He has to stop the ship. So what most of coaches, they always try to do the conscious mind, and they try to get this guy to really steer the ship, even if the captain is saying no, no, no. And that's where you can feel there's a lot of resistance when you're trying to do a task, when you're trying to reach a goal, and you're like, oh my God, this doesn't feel right. It feels bad. It feels like I need to discipline myself all the time. But when the captain and the guy steering the ship is all in alignment on the same mission, there's no resistance. That's when you look at the people and you're like, oh my God, how can you be so disciplined? And they're like it's easy because there's no resistance. So you can probably feel this in your business, in your life, that sometimes there are things you want to do, but there's so much resistance, it feels like the mind is just trying to work against you. And that is because it is. The captain is telling you to stop even though you try to go forward. And that is basically like putting one foot on the pedal and one on the brake at the same time. So what hypnosis does is that it bypasses this guy who's steering the ship, because again, we know that the captain decides, and hypnosis basically goes directly to the captain. And we talk to the captain, we make him understand that, okay, this is not the actual mission. We're going this way. And once the captain agrees with the same thing as the conscious mind goes, again, then you can feel the flow, then you can feel the ease in that direction. And when you look at Mike Tyson, for example, what he did was that he wanted to remove fear, because fear was the resistance that he was feeling when he was fighting. The reason why he couldn't perform at the highest level at all times was because he could feel the fear. So they programmed the captain to feel no fear. So when he was fighting, there was no fear, right? No resistance. When we look at Tiger Woods, it's not like he was trying to become better at his strategy, because he'd been swinging the same thing thousands and thousands of times. He just didn't want that captain to sabotage him on the championships, on the competitions. And look at Tony Robbins. He built his whole framework based on the same thing. And Tony Robbins been understanding this so deeply that he never works with this guy with discipline and willpower. He always works with the captain on his clients. And that's why he gets so fast results. Think about visualization. Visualization can work unless when you try to close your eyes, the subconscious mind just completely rejects that idea. Then there's no use for it. And the same thing with strategies, that the strategy works as long as that captain is not telling you to fuck off, right? So all of these ideas with visualization, meditation, everything is really powerful. It just has to be applied in the right order. And what hypnosis really does is to prepare the groundwork, so that the strategy, so that everything that you're trying to do actually can stand and be sustainable and consistent, so that you can actually reach the goal, even if it takes a long time. Okay, now if you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, but how do I apply this to myself? I've not only seen this obviously in the sources that I've compiled, I've seen it in my own clients, and I've also worked with one of the biggest hypnotists in the world, who also applies the same kind of principles to his billionaire clients and CEOs and founders. And this is the same things I apply for myself. And today I'm going to give you a very simple practice that you can use to understand where the subconscious or the conscious and the subconscious mind is actually driving and where that gap actually sits. So across every person I work with, the pattern is usually the same. The strategy works, but they can't execute it. So there's a gap between their potential and their actual output. And the most successful people are often really the most aware of this problem. They know that they are somehow limiting themselves. They know they should be further along. They know they have more potential, and something is just stopping them. And maybe you're feeling this right now. Then this is the actual part that you've been missing. I've been having clients who spend thousands and thousands, I mean not even thousands, but like $25,000, $40,000 on mentorships and courses, but they couldn't even execute it. Why? Because the captain said, no, we're not going there. It doesn't feel safe, it doesn't feel good, we're not going there. And this all thing is what Tony Robbins, Mike, and Tiger all tried to do, is that they were accessing the captain because they knew that there was something deeper that was driving their successes. So what you can do today is to take a pen and paper and go over the areas of your life and see where there is a gap between your potential, which is what you think you could actually get or go, and what you're actually getting out of it. That's where I want you to start today, to just question this. And specifically, I want you to find a place where you already know exactly what to do, but you're still not doing it. That's the perfect place to find this captain stopping the road forward. And most people just skip this, and they will instead, they will try a diet or they will try a strategy in their business, and then they will be like, okay, no, this didn't work, so I will just try something else. And that is the classic strategy hopping thing. You're trying to find the golden strategy that will just work, but in reality, it's about making yourself work first. So these guys and the girls in the sources, they didn't succeed despite needing to address this. They succeeded because they were willing to address it first, to get the captain and the guy who's steering the ship on the same journey, on the same goal, with the same vision. So there was no internal resistance, so that they could apply the hard work, the discipline, the work ethic in the most successful way, so that the gap between the potential and the actual outcome was as small as humanly possible. So if you want to see this in actually action, the process I do with myself and my clients, then the next video on this YouTube channel is going to be about exactly that. So thank you so much for coming today, and have a good day.